Bake me like one of your French pastries. Just because the cafe's closed doesn't mean we have to miss out on proper French baked goods. Today, we are making croissants. The key ingredient in this croissant recipe is thyme, but other players include flour, sugar, some cold milk, yeast, an egg, salt, and a ton of butter. That's 4.5 sticks. So this is the recipe that created the monster that is trial by fire baking. I'd always wanted to try to make croissants. I had time on my hands. I found a step-by-step recipe and it worked. So it does require a lot of time, but not a ton of hands-on time. It's really a lot of going back and forth. So we will start out by activating our yeast. I've got 4.5 teaspoons of yeast, to which I'm gonna add a pinch of sugar and 6 tablespoons of warm water. And we're just gonna let this sit until it gets nice and foamy. After 5 or 10 minutes, your yeast mixture will be nice and foamy. At this time, we're going to add a 1/4 cup of sugar, 4 tablespoons of melted butter, 2 teaspoons of salt, and 2 cups of cold milk. And we will start stirring this together, and I'm gonna add 5 cups of flour, about 1/2 cup at a time, until this starts to come together in a ball. With the mixer on low, I am just gradually adding flour. We'll end up with 5 cups in this mix. When the dough gathers around the dough hook in a ball, we are ready to go. Once the dough is ready, we are just going to roll it out onto a lightly floured counter into a rectangle. It's a little wet right now, but when we start kneading, we'll actually end up incorporating a little bit of flour. Now we will just roll this dough into a rectangle and put it on a sheet pan and put it in the fridge for about 40 minutes. Once it's on the sheet pan, we'll just cover it with some plastic wrap and put it in the fridge. If you ever need to get out some aggression, this is the recipe for you. While our dough is chilling in the fridge, I am going to take 4 sticks of butter and just place them side by side and beat the ever-loving crap out of them to flatten them out. Later, we will laminate this dough. We'll add the butter in the center of the dough and sort of fold so we can get lots of flaky layers. But first, we need to turn these sticks of butter into one flat glob. Once the butter is flattened, we will just pop it in the fridge. It's actually easier to flatten that butter in a gallon-sized plastic bag. So just pop it in there from the jump. Now it is time to begin laminating our dough. That just means fold it. On a lightly floured surface, we're going to roll it into a rectangle shape and then take that butter slab that we chilled and place it in the center of this dough. And I'm gonna get you a better angle. With the butter in the center of our chilled dough, we will just fold the dough over the butter and we're gonna roll this out. We're just gonna continue to roll the butter and dough together into one flat rectangle that's about 15 by 10. Once we have about a 15 by 10 inch rectangle, we will fold the dough into that letter shape and wrap it in plastic wrap and chill it for 15 minutes. This is our first turn, and we're going to do 3 more of these with a 45-minute rest in between each turn. And we're back for another turn. You know the drill. We're just gonna roll it out and do that book fold again. Put it back in the fridge for 45 minutes. I'm gonna do that 2 more times, and then we will let it rest in the fridge overnight, and tomorrow we'll make croissants. Good morning to this promising piece of pastry. Okay, after overnight in the fridge, we are going to cut our dough in half, and look at those layers. That is gonna make a really flaky croissant. I'm gonna pop half of this dough back in the fridge, and we're gonna roll out half into about a 9 by 18 inch rectangle. Now that we have our big rectangle rolled out, I'm just going to cut this in half lengthwise, and then we will just cut triangles into the dough. For each individual croissant, we want to start by slicing a little notch in the top, and then starting at the bottom, we will just roll them up into that very familiar croissant shape. Once the croissants are rolled, we will just cover them with a towel and leave them on the counter to rise for 1 to 2 hours, just until they're big and puffy. Now that the croissants have risen, we will brush them with an egg wash. I've just beaten an egg here, and we will give those a good brush. You really want to coat them really well because this is what's going to give it that nice brown color once you bake them. And once these are coated with the egg wash, I'm going to bake them at 425. That is a gorgeous pan of croissants. Can you believe we did that? These croissants are totally worth the time and effort. They come out flaky and buttery and delicious, and it makes a pretty big batch. Please give this a try. Totally worth it. See you next time.